Welcome to this explainer. Go ahead and take a deep, soothing breath with me. Settle in. Today, we are embarking on a really beautiful journey together. We are going to explore some of the most profound, ancient wisdom ever shared, specifically Chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. But, we aren't just going to read it, we are going to experience it. This chapter holds the absolute keys to understanding both the vast cosmos outside of us and the brilliant little universe inside our own minds. So let's dive right in. Imagine yourself standing under a massive, starry night sky. Honestly, whether you are 5 years old or 85, that kind of view naturally sparks this incredible sense of awe, right? You look up and you just wonder, what is all of this actually made of? Where did we come from? To answer these massive cosmic questions, our explainer today is going to follow a really timeless format. It is a gentle, interactive dialogue between a totally curious student, known as the Shishya, and a wise, loving teacher, the Guru. Think of it kind of like a conversation you might have with a remarkably wise grandparent. Let's listen in. Part 1, the cosmic question. So our curious student looks out at the vastness of the world, from the towering mountains all the way down to the tiny ants, and asks a really profound question. How was our whole universe formed, and does it have a creator? It is a question literally every single one of us has asked at some point. We look around and see that everything here, a house, a painting, even your favorite toy, requires someone to actually build it. So the student naturally wonders, well, who built the universe? The wise teacher just smiles and offers an answer that completely shifts how we see the whole world. The teacher explains that the supreme power, which we might call God, the absolute, or the divine, isn't just some cosmic builder sitting on a cloud somewhere making things. Instead, get this power actually becomes everything in the universe. It doesn't just create the building, it is the bricks, the wood, the foundation, the whole shebang. The entire universe is a direct manifestation of this one ultimate energy. Moving on to matter and spirit explained. The teacher breaks it down further, explaining that our physical world is made of an eightfold nature. 5 of these are the physical building blocks: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Now, ether translates to basically accommodating space. In modern science, we might actually call this invisible stuff dark matter, which, crazy enough, makes up most of our universe. Then, the remaining 3 elements are the subtle, invisible things inside of us: our mind, our intellect, and our ego. But the teacher doesn't stop there. Beyond these 8 material elements, there is a second, entirely superior energy. This is the spirit, the consciousness, the actual life force itself. Without this spirit, the earth, the water, even the mind, are basically just dead matter. It is this superior conscious energy that truly breathes life into and sustains the entire creation. Just imagine all the living beings in the world, humans, animals, plants, all together, forming this one vast, magnificent ocean of life. Now, the student is totally fascinated, but maybe just a little bit confused. If the spirit is invisible, the student asks, how can I possibly learn about it? Like, I can study earth and water in a science lab, sure, but how do I study my own consciousness? And it's a brilliant question, right? How do we actually bridge that gap between what we can physically touch and what we can only feel inside? To answer this, the guru introduces a really beautiful concept: Jnana versus Vijnana. So Jnana is intellectual knowledge. It is like reading in a book that meditation reduces stress, or memorizing the chemical formula for water. But Vijnana, that is higher experiential wisdom. It is actually closing your eyes, meditating, and feeling that peace wash over you. It is drinking the water and finally quenching your thirst. To truly understand the universe, the teacher says, we need both the science in our heads and the experience in our hearts. Which brings us to science meets ancient wisdom. It is absolutely wild to think that thousands of years ago, the Gita described concepts that modern science is only just now confirming. Take the first law of thermodynamics, for example. It is a huge rule in science which states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes form. While the guru teaches the student the exact same thing about the soul. Just like how ice melts into water but doesn't actually disappear, the spirit simply passes into new phases. Nothing is ever truly lost. And we can see this cyclical nature of existence everywhere around us. The journey of the soul evolving and taking on new forms perfectly mirrors the natural thermodynamic cycles we study in school. Think of the water cycle. Rain falls, it flows into rivers, evaporates up into the clouds, and falls all over again. Life, energy, and consciousness are all part of this continuous, beautifully balanced cycle of transformation. Let's look at a concept called jewels on a thread. The guru shares what is easily one of the most beautiful metaphors in all of ancient philosophy. Listen to this. We are all connected by the same spirit as jewels in a necklace are connected by the same thread. Just take a second to imagine that. You, your family, your friends, the trees outside, even strangers across the globe. We might look like completely different colored jewels on the outside, but right through our center, holding us all together, is the exact same thread of divine light. It is a profoundly comforting thought, isn't it? It suggests a completely holistic view of existence. Because of this universal consciousness, you are never truly isolated. You are literally never alone in the universe. And recognizing this invisible thread, it completely changes how we view ourselves and others. When you realize that the person sitting next to you is strung on the exact same cosmic thread as you, kindness and empathy just become our most natural responses. Now for finding your inner peace. So, the student asks a question I think we all struggle with. Okay, if we are all so beautifully connected, why do I feel so stressed out? How do we find peace when our minds feel chaotic or angry or just full of anxiety? It hits the nail on the head. The pressures of modern life, the endless desires for more stuff, the fear of failure, it all creates this massive storm in our minds. So how on earth do we calm that storm? The teacher smiles and points to another scientific concept: entropy. In science, entropy basically means disorder or chaos. It is like a bedroom that just gets messier and messier if you don't clean it. Well, our minds work the exact same way. Left completely unchecked, our fears and our selfish desires increase our mental entropy, creating all that stress. To find peace, we essentially have to clean up the room and restore order. So, how do we actually lower that mental entropy? The guru gives us 3 really clear steps. First, limit selfish desires. Think about it. Anger and frustration usually pop up when we don't get exactly what we want. Second, put your whole heart into your duty. Whether that is studying for school, working at your job, or raising a family, do it with absolute single-minded focus. And third, act for the good of all. When you stop obsessing over just your own personal gain, your mind stops drifting like a ship without a rudder. When you actually practice these steps, you achieve what science calls thermal equilibrium, which is a highly stable, perfectly balanced state, but right inside your own mind. True well-being happens the exact moment you stop seeing yourself as some tiny, isolated fragment fighting against the world and start seeing yourself as a deeply connected part of the whole. That right there is the secret to lasting inner peace. Let's wrap up with some questions for self-discovery. I really want you to ask yourself this right now. If it is both a scientific and spiritual fact that we are all connected, like jewels on a single thread, how is that going to change your behavior today? Are you going to be a little more patient with your sibling? Maybe a little more forgiving to a coworker? Will you be kinder to yourself when you make a mistake? Because remember, that thread holds you securely too. And finally, as you step back into the beautifully messy, transforming energy of the real world, how will you find your balance? When the everyday chaos of life tries to crank up your mental entropy, what duty or selfless action will you focus on to bring yourself right back to a state of calm, thermal equilibrium? I'll leave you with that thought. Keep asking questions, keep looking up at the stars, and please remember, you are an absolutely essential part of this magnificent universe.